Hi guys, my name is Ben and welcome back to the Pride of Villa. We're going to do a little bit of a different video today. I'm going to be talking into a in-depth analysis of how Aston Villa can win their games in the Premier League, in the Carabao Cup, or just any games this season by looking into their formation, the players, and how this all works together to provide a win for the team. You may also notice we're in a new studio today. This is hopefully going to be the new recording place, so excuse me if the sound or just basically the video quality is not as good. We're just trying to get it all together and set it up for our new go. But without further ado, if you are going to enjoy this video, please leave a like, obviously subscribe. Let's get the like spike going. Like spike. I know you love it. Get the cat excited. Turn on those notifications. Tell us in the comments down below what you'd like to see us do in the future if you're going to enjoy this video, or just what you'd like to see us do when we reach 200 subscribers. Let's get us to it. But without further ado, let's get started. So, how does Aston Villa win their games this season? Well, first off, we need to look into Dean Smith and his style of football. Now, Dean Smith has always said he wants to play an attacking style of football. This means that rather than sitting back and defending the lead like Steve Bruce was doing beforehand, Dean Smith focuses on attacking and driving the players up the pitch more to provide more chances, assists and goals. This can be from creative midfielders or wide and pacey wingers, as we've seen, or just out-and-out strikers that are going to bomb across the pitch and get to the centre half, other half, and score that goal. But what is the formation that Dean Smith likes to play? We already know it's a 4-3-3, so this includes, basically, if you can see this, I hope you do. So we have 1, 2, rubbish 2, 3, that's a rubbish 4, you've got, now this is where it can be a little bit different, because we can see usually either someone sitting in the holding area here, more as a defensive midfielder, so we'll go here with 5. We can usually see 2 midfielders here sitting in that central role as either 6 or 7. Sometimes we may get a natural attacking midfielder, someone like Grealish or McGinn playing more up front and forward compared to these 2 midfielders. 8. Or sometimes we'll see these 2 central midfielders push up that pitch more and really, have that central midfielder somewhere here, so 9. And then obviously we have our wider players, so we've got number 10, we've got number 11, and then of course we've got number 12, our main number 9, or the striker of course. So how does this formation work? Well, obviously we have our 4 centre halves down here, the 2 fullbacks in 1 and 4. These are going to bring the ball when they get the chance. They're going to send it up the pitch and try and really hope that the wingers will get to it. Or their midfielders, considering Villa are a team that likes to pass it around the back, try and work our way up the pitch. Villa will try and look towards, especially playing against with Dean Smith, sometimes we'll see players like McGinn here will cross the ball over to these wider positions with the long balls. We saw that with Tottenham in the first game of the season last year when Mings played a long ball out to McGinn from around here. And he drove that ball up straight into the goal. And then we've got our midfielders. Now we usually go with Douglas Luiz, McGinn, Hourihane, and then sometimes Jack Grealish will play here, but he's been mostly playing outside the wing. We're looking to play, again, as I said, we're looking to create more chances. So that means these players here are going to drive that ball up to the wingers. And they're going to obviously, hopefully have some pace on them and obviously put the ball in. So someone like Ollie Watkins, when he's running down that centre line there, he'll cross in the ball there into those dangerous areas. And then whilst we do that, the team will obviously move on up the pitch to assist that front 3. Now, the problem that we've been seeing is the lack of goals that we've been creating, and that's obviously because of a lot of things. We have players playing too deep. Obviously, we've had Grealish in that midfield sometimes, not playing as the midfielder that we know he can be, the one that's really creative, the one that's, when playing for England this year against Denmark, he created more chances than any player did that was on that pitch for the full 90 minutes when coming on. But he's been moved out to that winger position because he plays better than Dean Smith's just put in there, considering our wingers are terrible. And that's the point. We have El Ghazi and Trezeguet that started for us last season. Two players that aren't really that pacey, but a bit more technical and a bit more to get those good chances in. Now, what we can see sometimes is players like Matt Targett or El Mohammadi, who are good attacking wise. They will obviously come from our fullback position. They will look to drive that ball up through the field, as we say. And then, especially with El Mohammadi, as we've seen in the Leicester semi-final against the Carabao Cup, what El Mohammadi will then do is carry that ball on and then just look to play it into, obviously, the striker, either Samatta, who, as we're recording, has left to Fenerbahce, to Wesley or to Watkins, whereas what Target will do is similar to what your wing backs would do. They will drive that ball obviously forward rather trying to get it into that corner and then play it in for our number 9. Now that is a little bit messy, but I'm hoping you can understand that. And obviously that's going to drive the pitch more forward. So how does this work exactly for Dean Smith? Well, we're looking at the players that we have. As I said, we've got Target or we've got El Mohammadi playing that left back or right back role. They're also going to drive the ball forward already. Someone like Gilbert and Cash now coming in. Younger, hungry players, a bit more pacey on them, can bring that ball forward and increase the tempo of the game for Aston Villa. And then we've obviously got Douglas Luiz is going to be sitting in that central role, or maybe Nakamba if he's trying to preserve a lead or keep a more sturdy defensive line against harder teams like Man City or Liverpool's. And then we play with someone like Mikin or Hurahan in that 6 or 7 role that, although it can drive the ball forward, can move forward alongside those front 3. We're going to be looking at them to really create that midfield and make sure that when the ball does get out to that midfield that there is something to come off of there. And then obviously we look to our wingers in the wider positions and we're going to be seeing some balls crossing, some pacey opportunities, driving it into the corner, really testing the opposition's fullbacks and wider players there, obviously getting that ball into our number 9 here, who can obviously score it in the goal, and we get our goal. The board is fixed. So we looked into how the formation will play, especially with Dean Smith's style of tactics and attacking desires. But how does that play into the team that we start with, or hopefully we'll be starting with throughout this season? Well, obviously we need to decide on what our first 11 is going to be for this season. Now, as I'm recording, we're still yet to sign 2 or 3 more players. Hopefully, I believe it's going to be another winger, perhaps a central midfielder, someone that can play either alongside or even replace McGinn, Hurahan, Lansby, because I just don't think they've been good enough after seeing them so far. And then hopefully another centre-back, because I just don't think, if Engels is going to be going, obviously we've only got Konza, Mings and House, and I think we need one more choice, someone that's going to be a little bit better in case the likes of Mings or Konza do get injured and we need someone strong to play alongside the either of them. So we start in goal. Obviously, this is a very obvious signing. We have, oh no, wrong way. We have, I don't know if you can see this. No, I've done that the wrong way again. We have Emi Martinez there. Hopefully you can see that. Signing him from Arsenal for around 17 to 20 million. A very good player, having a great last season with Arsenal and being able to show that he can be a really good quality when he gets his chances after those 10 years, and showing that why Arsenal are really missing out on a good goalkeeper like him and having to play with Bernard Leno, who's also a good keeper. But you know, you want someone good reassurance on that bench, and that's why we brought up Emil to place Tommy Eaton, who can be coming back into that lineup. So there we've got 2 good, great choices of keepers, as well as Jed Steer, and hopefully Orland Ireland and Callange will be moved on. And then we move on to the back 4. So we're going to start off with our left back. Now, obviously, we have Taylor or we have Target. I believe we're going to go with Tar for Target. A player that's much better at going attacking, wise rather than defensively. Because I'd play Teo if we're going to go and try and defend that lead. But I mean, Target's a much better left back of the two, but I still think we could get a little bit better. Put in the comments down below if you think Danny Rose would be a good choice. And then obviously we move on to our two centre halves. We've obviously got to have Konza. For me, the player of the year last season, not the player of the year, what am I on about? Defender of the year. I think he's really had a standout 2019-20 season with Aston Villa, especially towards the restart of the Premier League after COVID-19. And I think he's come back and looked tremendous. He is one for the future, definitely. And then obviously we've got to play Big TM, Tyrone Mings. Again, as I said, although House I think was really good last season, could have been that top defender where Konza is, he did get injured, and I think really when we take a step back and look at it, it's probably not the centre half that we need of big quality and assurance, and that's where Tyrone Mings comes in. Although he has had that England call up, and for me has been one of the more disappointing players since joining Villa on a permanent. He is what we've got right now, and he is still a good centre half. He's strong and imposing. He does his job very well. He's very solid, very demanding of his defensive line to keep up with him. And he's a real leader on that pitch, and that's something that Villa need right now. We then move on to the right back role. Now we have three right backs in Matty Cash, Gilbert, and El Mohammedi. Now you can argue that we can go with Matty Cash. You can argue Gilbert, or some of you may go for Elmo. Elmo for me is a brilliant rotational player. I don't think he should be starting the right back role, beginning like 30, 15 minutes, or even in a cup run games. You can play him in there. Gilbert would be a good choice considering he didn't have a bad season last time, although his stats don't match the performances. Gilbert is a really good player. The attitude is right from him. But I'm going to go with Matty Cash. He's much better for me of what I saw against Sheffield United than I've seen of Gilbert all season. Because for me personally, I agree with what the stats say. If there's no crosses, if there's no assists, if there's no goals coming from Gilbert, I don't really see how we're meant to start the season with him. And I think from watching Cash, he was getting some great crosses in. Defensively looked very solid, and I think he was such a much better improvement on Gilbert, as I've already said, and I think Cash is really the step up that we need going ahead for the season. And then we move on to our midfield. Now, I would like a new midfielder to replace the likes of Hurahan and perhaps McGinn. Simply put, I just don't think, with Hurahan and Lansbury, I think they are championship at best, unfortunately. I think you can keep Hurahan if you'd like, rotate him again as a rotational player. But I think someone like James McCarthy would be much better quality than the two of them. And I think McGinn for me, since that injury, has just not been good enough. Even still, he's had, he had the start of the season against Sheffield United where you think he could get back to match fitness. But still, he had no impact on the game at all. And I'm really worrying if he's not going to do it in these next two games, we really need to be considering a new midfielder. But we do have Douglas Luiz, who's probably been one of my favourite players of the seasons last year. He was really good in those last 10 games and finally showing why we paid the big money for him. We've obviously got the likes of Nakambo, who can put Grealish in that midfield. But I believe, I think Dean's still going to stick with Grealish out on the wide, although we do now have Traore and scoring a very good goal as we're recording against Bristol City. We're looking at playing, hopefully, Grealish back into this midfield. So, in that case then, in this more central role, I'm going to go with DL for Douglas Luiz. As I said, very good player. He really suits that role of sitting in the centre of midfield and really creating the chances, but also keeping that nice and sturdy line there. And I think he's just been a really good player and deserves his starting place in the team. We then go with, I'm going to go with McGinn. We're going to go with Mickey McDonald. McGinn is a really good player. We've already seen him in the Championship, really pacey, energetic, like a bulldog. He's never going to stop fighting for that ball. And he showed it last season before his injury that he was really making a good impact, a really good transition. But since that injury, he's just not stepped up to the mark that we need him to be for me. But hopefully, again, he can come back into it but I would consider buying a new midfielder. Maybe Ross Barkley or Ruben Loftus-Cheek. I'll put a poll and tell you what you think about either of those choices. I would go Ross Barkley simply because of the experience. I think Loftus-Cheek needs so much more time, but I think Ross Barkley is a much better fit for the Villa shirts than Loftus-Cheek. And then I'm going to go with Grealish in that midfield. Simply because I don't believe he suits out being in the wing. I don't think he's got the legs for it. And I think for a player like him who's going to hold that ball for as long as possible and drive it through the midfield, we need him rather in the middle of the pitch rather than playing out wide. Although he did score some lovely goals last season, I think he's much better suited to the midfield, and considering that's more his natural role, that's where he should be playing. And that means then that we've got someone like Grealish who can either just drive it through to the number 9, or he can play it out wide to our left winger. Obviously, the right winger, whilst McGinn just does a bit of both and just runs through the centre. And then obviously we move on to our front 3. This is what Dean Smith's going to be relying on for the chances and goals, of course. So on the right here, I'm going to go with Big Trez. It's really a toss-up between him or El Ghazi. I just think El Ghazi's been the worst player last season. I still hold on my faith for him, but I think his time is really coming short, especially if Rashica is going to be happening or not. But I think Trezeguet, especially in those last games, was really one of the most underrated players. Although he's not been great all season, I think he's looked much sharper in that Sheffield United game, and hopefully he can come back to recreate some of that form for us this season and really show why he's not probably a one-hit wonder. Maybe can be a good Villa player for us, but I'm going to go with Trez simply because there's no real better options on that side. I'm then going to go on the left, Bertrand Traore, BT Sport himself. He's only made his debut in Bristol City as we're recording, scoring a phenomenal filthy goal against them from a lovely volley from Jacob Ramsey, who is being debated that could he be starting for the Prem. No, he can't. He's way too inexperienced. Don't make that risk. But Bertrand Traore offers us pace. He offers us more going out wide rather than perhaps Grealish does, because he's got better legs in him than Jack Grealish. And as I said, pace. We need pace. Trezeguet and El Ghazi didn't offer it us for last season, especially like with Samatta and Wesley. It doesn't really help. And that's the other thing. We're looking at 2 players that can create more chances and hopefully give more to the number 9 than what Trez and El Ghazi were doing last season, because, you know, Samatta has left for Fenerbahce, and I don't think it was his fault as for coming in, you know, although he did get off to a brilliant start with 2 goals in his first games against Man City and Bournemouth. Really, he's getting no chances, he's getting no opportunities, he's just so isolated in that central role. And I think someone with Bertrand Traore and Trez, with the pace to keep up with the number 9 and some good crosses on them, I think we're looking at finding some new chances and maybe some more goals. And then obviously we've got on number 9, and I think it's pretty obvious who's going to go in here. It is, of course, Ollie Watkins. Probably the big signing of the window for me, as I've already said. I'm really excited to see him. He's already got 2 goals for Aston Villa, and he's looking really, really lively. He's pacey, he's got great mentality, his football knowledge is superb, positioning he's great, and I think he's really going to get some good goals, hopefully coming in from those wingers. Bot. Ollie Watkins is going to provide us some pace as well. You know, perhaps we could see Ollie Watkins, Wesley, move Trez and Bertrand Traore back down into a 4-4-2. Who knows? But Ollie Watkins, I think, is going to get some real good goals. He's already shown it so far with Villa that he can find the back of the net, and I do not feel that's going to be a problem for Aston Villa going ahead. So yeah, as we've said, Emi Martinez in goal. We've got Target, Konza, Mings and Cash. Rob at 4. We've got Douglas Luiz in that central midfield role. Sorry to be off FIFA. We've got Jack Grealish and McGinn pushing more as attacking midfielders, trying to play that attacking style that Dean Smith likes to show. And then we've got Bertrand Traore, Ollie Watkins and Trezeguet, with the likes of substitutions of Wesley when he hopefully comes back, giving us more assurance on that bench. El Ghazi, hopefully Rashica, Hurahan, Lansbury, House, Gilbert, Taylor, Heaton, I think we're sorted. As I said, I do just believe, though, in that midfield, we need someone really that's going to be contending and giving people like McGinn competition, as I think we can get better quality. we're obviously going to need someone a little bit better than Trezeguet and El Ghazi, because they haven't just been performing this season, and I think we can really do better in those areas. And then you can possibly identify a centre back or even a left back from Target, Konza or Tyrone Mings. I'm really hopefully there we can address some issues there, getting a better left back when Target gets injured, because he's a bit injury prone and really players don't want to be starting with Taylor. And then probably a centre half that can go alongside Konza or Tyrone Mings when either of the pair gets injured and we have a bit more better quality going up front. But that is my first 11. That is the team that I believe Dean Smith should be starting week in, week out with Aston Villa in the Premier League, and I believe this is why Aston Villa can go the mile and win all their games in the Premier League. Alright guys, that's going to wrap it up for this video. I hope you did enjoy. If you did, please leave a like down below, subscribe, help us get to 200 subscribers, and we will do a special video just for you guys for showing your appreciation in us. Please leave in the comments down below what video ideas you'd like to see us going ahead. We're hopefully going to be doing some more live reactions, more match reactions and match reviews. Hopefully we're going to be bringing more interactable and diverse content, and you can go follow us on our social pages down below in the description on Twitter and Instagram and tell us what you think of us down below. But without further ado, I've been Ben, he's been Whitey the Whiteboard, and without further ado, up the Villa with a pride of Villa. We'll see you later, boys.